This tutorial is for homework number 2. Let's get started by taking a look at finding basic patterns in a table. So in this particular assignment, it's asking you to assume that the relationship is linear. In case you don't remember, a linear relationship has a constant rate of change, often known or referred to as the ROC, rate of change. A constant rate of change means I am constantly increasing or decreasing by the same amount. I'm constantly increasing or decreasing by the same amount. So as I'm moving along my table here, this is the input. The input has an increase of +1 every time. So the next number I can assume will be a 6. Now for the second part of the table, the y values or the output, I'll notice that the difference between the numbers here, the difference is an increase of 7. The difference here is also an increase of 7, etc. And that is a constant rate of change. Both the input and the output are constantly changing by their separate different amounts, but they are constantly changing the same, each separately. So 25 plus 7 more will give me the output here for 5. So 25 plus 7 is 32. I would go ahead and type that here in my answer box. 32, if you don't have a keyboard, you can click here and the Delta Math keyboard will appear. So 32 and submit answer. All right, let's try this one more time. Again, you'll notice that my inputs or my x values here are increasing by 1 every time, so that's constant. And now I check my y values, +5, +5, +5, that is also constant. So this is a linear increasing pattern. So I'm going to put my number here, 22, and then I'll type that into the grid down here. All right, so those are the basics for this first topic of finding basic patterns in a table. They're all linear and they constantly change at the same rate. So I'm going to go back now. We're going to try a harder version of this called table to linear equation. That's a conversion, and this is level 1, the beginner version. And if you are unfamiliar with linear functions have a constant rate of change, and their formulas state that the output is always equal to the rate of change times the input plus whatever that initial value is. So I'm going to color code this a little bit differently. I'm going to make the letter B, which is something we have to replace, blue, and the letter M, something we have to replace, green. Those two spaces, the M and the B, must be erased and replaced with values. This one is the rate of change, or the ROC, and this one is the initial value. The initial value is when x is 0, what is y? That's the beginning. X is 0, what's y? So that's what we're looking for here. So I'm going to leave that up, and we're going to take a look here. M, our rate of change, has to do with the difference between each of these outputs in the table. So it should be constant. Let's check. Yes, it goes up by 4 every time. So even though I know what the next number in the pattern will be, that's not what they're asking for. They're not asking for the next number of the pattern. They're asking you now for a formula. So no matter what input I give you, you should be able to jump right to the output. No matter what input I give you, you should be able to jump right to the output. So that's what an equation would represent. So now let's erase and replace these two values. This is permanent. The y, the equals, and the x, those are permanent pieces of the formula. So now let's go find our rate of change. Our rate of change is the increase in y over the increase in x. You may remember this from last year as delta y over delta x. So now that we found both of those patterns, we can say that our increase is, our rate of change, I should say, our rate of change is 4 over 1, also known as 4. So I'm going to put that 4 here. And now for the initial value. We find this by looking in the table. Look in the x row and find 0. Whatever y is, that's your b value. That's the b value. The initial value for us also happens to be a 4. So this is our final answer. Y equals 4x plus 4. And we're going to use our keypad to type that in, or you can use the Delta Math keypad here. Y equals 4x plus 4. Okay, clear my writing. Submit my answer. What does it say? For example, if you're solving for x, instead of typing x equals 7, just type 7. Find the linear equation. Oh, sorry. The y equals was already written. So I just need to back that up. Oops, sorry. Back that up a little bit here. There we go. I got 2 keyboards going. Okay, now I can submit my answer. All right, let's do this again. Look for your rate of change. Up here, it's going by 1s. Down here, it's going by 4s. Okay, so my rate of change is 4. So I'm off to a good start. Now we need to find the initial value, or the b value, which is when x is 0, and that's a 1. So there's our equation. Y equals 4x plus 1. So the y equals is already there, so all I need to type is 4x plus 1. So here we go, 4x plus 1. Okay, last one, don't forget. The pattern is the change in y over the change in x. That's how you find the rate of change. Delta y over delta x. How do you find the b value, or the initial value? Well, you look for y when x is 0. Okay. All right, here we go. Plus 1, plus 1, plus 1 every time, because this is like a beginner level. Plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. So y equals 2x, and now for the initial value, or the y-intercept, 6. So type that in here in the box, and you're all set. All right, let's go back and try lesson 3. Same lesson, a little bit more challenging. Now this time the tables are going the other way, but it is still delta y over delta x is your rate of change, also known as your m value, right? This is our equation. And 2 values need to be erased and replaced. Those 2 values need to be erased and replaced. So delta y, it seems like it's going lower and lower and lower. So it's minusing here, and it's going down by 3s. So the m value is minus 3, because this is minus 3 over 1. All right, so we're off to a good start. So that's negative 3x. And now for the b value, right? This number here. Well, in order to find that number, I need x to be 0 so that I can find y. But there is no 0 in our table. It starts at 1. But if you look at the table, as you move down the table, it's going up by 1. But what if we move this way? If we reverse the direction, we reverse the pattern. So I could minus 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. Check. Now we need to reverse this pattern. So instead of minusing 3, let's plus 3. So instead of going 3 down the number line, let's go 3 up the number line, or closer to 0. So that gives me a minus 2. So you can say the formula is y equals minus 3x minus 2. Y equals minus 3x, minus 2. So I'm going to type that here. Y equals, I need the y equals this time, negative 3x minus 2. And if you are using the Delta Math keyboard, right here, if you're using the Delta Math keyboard, the minus sign is this subtraction sign. So y equals negative 3 x minus 2. All right, let's do this one more time. Now remember, the b value is found only when the x value is 0, and if you don't have a 0 value, you work your table backwards. So let's see, we've got here plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Ooh, this one is going down the number line. Minus 5, minus 5, minus 5. So my m value is minus 5 over 1, also known as negative 5. So y equals negative 5x. And now for my b value, I'm going to reverse the pattern. So I'm going to go up 1, and I'm going to go up. Oops, sorry, I made a mistake. When I reverse the pattern here, it's minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. And this one is plus 5, so negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. So y equals negative 5x minus 1. Y equals negative 5x minus 1. Awesome. Submit this, clear my ink. All right, I think you're getting the hang of it. Now let's go to level 3. Now this is where it gets tough. So I know that the formula for a linear function is y equals mx plus b. These need to be erased and replaced. But when I look at my pattern, plus 4, plus 4, plus 4, if I were to minus 4, I wouldn't get to 0. I wouldn't get to 0. So that's a problem. Okay. So what we do when we can't make a 0 in our table is we figure out what that b value is. There are two ways you can do it. I'll go with the more popular easy way. So y equals mx plus b. I'm going to erase this letter m because I know that I can replace it with the pattern over here, which is plus 4 and plus 12. So delta y over delta x is 12 over 4, which is 3. So I'm going to put that 3 here. Now you'll notice I have 1, 2, 3 variables, and you cannot have that. You can only have 1. So I'm going to erase and replace 2 of them. I'm going to erase and replace the x's and y's because anytime I have a pair, I have an x and y value. So I can choose any pair I want from this table. I can choose any pair I want. So I'm going to choose this pair, 2 and 11. So 2 is x, 11 is y. And now I only have one variable, and I can figure out what b is. So 11 is equal to 6 plus b, minus 6 from both sides, and I get 5 is equal to b. So 5 is my missing number for the formula. Y equals 3x plus 5. Y equals 3x plus 5. All right, let's do this one more time. Again, first, you need to erase and replace the letters m and b. M is found by finding the pattern of the y, that's called the delta y, and the pattern of the x, that's called the delta x, the changing of the x's. And whatever that fraction is or integer, you place it in the m position. So it looks here like this one is going up by 12 again. And this one is going up, is this the same problem? And this one is going up by 4s. So the slope is 3. And then when I erase and replace, y equals 3x plus b, fill in my x's and y's with the number of my choice. Oh, this is slightly different. This is so slightly different. Last time, okay, the x is 2 and the y is negative 11. That's tricky. So negative 11 equals 6 plus the letter b. And now to isolate b, I subtract 6 from both sides. And negative 17 is equal to b. Oh, I thought this was the same problem, but it's not. So y equals 3x minus 17. Y equals 3x minus 17. All right, I'm going to show you one more because I know this topic is a bit challenging. So here comes our last question. Let's clear these annotations. Submit our answer. Okay, sorry, I was in the typing mode. Okay, y equals mx plus b. Okay, let's see, here we go. Delta y looks like minus 6, delta x plus 3. So delta y over delta x is negative 6 over 3, which is negative 2. That is going to be placed here. The y and the x are going to be erased and replaced with the pair of my choice. I'm going to pick this one. X is 1, y is negative 5. So negative 5 is equal to negative 2 plus b. Add 2 to both sides. Oops, add 2 to both sides. And negative 3 equals b is my answer. So I'm going to type that in. Y equals negative 2x, minus 3. Clear my annotations, and we're good. All right, that concludes homework number 2.